Our next guest from the mothership has quickly risen to the top of NFL analysts. We take absolutely no cheap shots against him. When he's dishing knowledge on NFL Live, we never want the show to end. He's totally in the zone. Day in and day out, he takes care of everything. He's never out of bounds. He's the safety blanket for ESPN's NFL coverage. Say hello to Dan Orlovsky. Yeah.
Lovely intro.
Yeah. Thank you.
What up?
Dan Orlovsky
What's up?
joining
I've
us.
already done this, but what's up? What's up? I don't know if I should say what's up after that, but what's up?
Wait.
You didn't take shots.
Did you read anything into that intro that we just gave you there?
So a couple things.
Okay.
One, you said you never take any shots. That's accurate. You took 3. I counted them.
Okay.
I'm going to put my headphones on as well, like
so you could be
else.
warm since you don't have a jacket here?
I'm totally warm. The second thing is when you guys put up the picture of everybody that's a guest today.
Yeah.
One of the things that stood out to me is everybody. I think it's Cranston, Peter King, Debo, and Eisen. Everybody's like a face-forward shot, and you guys picked a shot of me turned to the side. I think it's to hide the width of my ears. So another, see, look at everyone's face on but me.
I don't think that we did that on purpose. That looks like a glamour shot.
Yeah. It's like from 5 years ago.
Okay. By the way, NFL Live, Old Town Scottsdale for Super Bowl week, beginning today through Friday, 4 Eastern. Dan will be there with Laura Rutledge, Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears, and Ryan Clark. How's morale?
Great. Ready to go.
Where's the drama in the Super Bowl?
I think can Patrick Mahomes like go to 3 in 4 years and only have 1? I think that's probably a big conversation. You know, Jalen and the shoulder, he has not played well since, at least as a thrower, since the injury. And so that's a big part of, is he going to kind of rebound from the injury? You know, I think Jeffrey Lurie put to bed a little bit of this, but I had quietly been thinking, you know, Philly's been to the Super Bowl twice in the last, I think, 6 seasons, right? 17 and then this year, so 5 or 6 seasons. Both times with a rookie quarterback deal. And I was always like sitting there wondering, do they just believe that that is the blueprint? Like no matter who the quarterback is, they're going to draft one, they're going to move on from the expensive one, and then continue to try to have the best roster in football. And then Jeffrey Lurie the other night kind of said he doesn't need to do anything to prove himself anymore. He's exactly what they're looking for. So, but that was a little bit of a question mark that I had moving forward.
And it feels like we've all focused on Mahomes' injury and not Jalen Hurts.
He has not thrown well since that Chicago game. He hasn't. Regular season, Week 18, when he had to play, didn't play well, didn't throw it well. He didn't throw it well against the Giants. He did not throw it well against the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't think like just this 2-week stretch is automatically going to make it that much better. So that's like the most concerning thing that I would have about the whole Super Bowl.
Well, explain that injury. Is he going to need surgery?
Some guys need it, yeah. I think some guys need it. I would say this, like, I'm not a doctor, obviously. It took 17 years to graduate from college. But I think, like, the thing that stands out with Jalen over the past 4 or 5 games since the injury in comparison to before is the control of the football or lack thereof. I think that's where he made his greatest growth this year was, like, he could control the football, the tempo of the ball that he wanted, the placement of the ball that he wanted, how firm it had to be. You know, the deep ball was such a great growth for his, and the control of that has really slipped over the past, again, like 6 weeks since that injury. And I think if you took like the really deep dive into the game, if you're Steve Spagnuolo, the defense coordinator for the Chiefs, you're going to sit there and go, well, you have to prove it to me. I'm not going to let you guys run the football. At least they're going to try to do that, and they're going to play sticky man coverage and be physical at the line and say, Jalen, we're going to see what the shoulder feels like. And I think that the lack of control that has kind of been showing over the last 6 weeks is a big deal. I really do. I just think that it's not necessarily like the pain. It's, do you feel completely free? Like, do you just have games as a quarterback where you warm up and you're like, I'm throwing it today. Like, there's nothing I cannot do with this football. And I just don't see that right now from Jalen.
You hear pitchers a lot, and here we are. It's appropriate to ask this at Scottsdale Stadium. They'll have it when they're warming up.
Yeah.
And then they go into the game and they don't have it, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Do quarterbacks have similar, games where they're like, man, I'm killing it in warm-ups, and then you get to the game and you're like, what the hell? Where'd that go?
It's like me on a driving range.
Yeah.
I'm great on the range.
Yeah.
Then we get on the course and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think quarterbacks have that because there's other variables attached too. You know, like you get hit early on in a game and that hit lingers for the whole game. That could be part of it. Yeah, I think you have that as a quarterback where sometimes you feel great. You know, throwing the football though is such a like a individual thing. You know, pitching. I don't never played like high level baseball, so I don't know how much that impacts your mind. But when you're a quarterback and you feel like you could throw it, unless you're taking a shot early on in the game, that really doesn't go away.
I found an interesting quote where Tom Brady's dad said Tom got tired of getting hit.
Yeah.
Well,
obviously.
I would think nobody likes getting hit unless maybe
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen likes getting hit. Yeah. Roethlisberger, did he like getting hit?
I think a lot of quarterbacks like getting hit if the end result is what they wanted. Like, there was no better feeling as a quarterback than when you would take a huge shot and you would look up and the ball was complete. Because that was devastating to a defense, right? I think as you got older, you got less and less appreciative of the shots and of the hits. So, but there's some quarterbacks that embrace it. I sit with college coaches all the time, and we, you know, one of the questions we'll ask these guys when it comes to younger quarterbacks is like, how do you find ways to get them in rhythm in the game? And 80% of the time, they're like, well, we want to run them early to get them hit so they can settle into the game. I think like the younger generation of quarterbacks is embracing the physicality of the position more than guys of the past.
Assess the quarterbacks in this year's draft.
I think the 4 kids that are probably going to be talked about a bunch in the first round. So Bryce Young, to me, is like Steph Curry. Everything is so slow for him, but he plays so fast. I love him. I love his game. I think he's one of those players you sit there and go, don't overthink it much, but we will. He is not big, and that is putting it lightly. I mean, he is, once you meet him in person, it takes you back a little bit because if you just contrast him to the stars, the young stars in the league right now, you go Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert.
Burrow's 6'5".
Joe Burrow, even Jalen. Jalen's thick. Bryce isn't. He's slight. He's not tall, and he's slight. His shoulders are slight. So I think that's got to be.
But is he Tua-like?
No, Tua's probably 15, 20 pounds heavier. Okay. Easily, like way thicker.
And we see what's happening to him in the NFL.
Well, and Dan, I was going to, like, we started to talk about this a little bit. We're saving it for a little bit of the draft, but the quarterbacks that have kind of become we've seen the acceptance of drafting smaller sized quarterbacks in the past couple of years. You can make the case that none of them have really panned out here. You know, Kyler, question marks and injured. Baker's been all over the place, even though he's a little bit thicker. And I think Tua, because of the injuries, is part of that conversation as well. So, but Bryce is special. He's a special talent, but he's not big. C.J. Stroud, I'm a huge fan of. I think he thinks the game the best. He can throw it. He's the best pure thrower. I think as a passer, he's an upgrade athletically, but as a passer, he reminds me of Goff, just very natural, very fluid thrower. Levis is going to be the guy that people will sit here and say he's the #1 pick or he's not a first-round talent. Just a crazy physical talent. He can absolutely whip the ball. Tough dude. There's going to be question marks of how well he can see the field, how well he thinks, how well he processes, how come his numbers weren't better. You'll hear is he going to be Zach Wilson or is he going to be Josh Allen? That's probably going to be the comp that you'll sit there and kind of point to. And then Anthony Richardson is a freak. I mean, I called some of his freshman year games at Florida, and then I called his first game this year against Utah. He is an absolute superstar talent. If you are an organization that like wants to take a guy and you are 100% committed to sitting for 2 years, and your coach and general manager aren't on the hot seat, and I know that's a little bit of a rarity in the NFL, you take him. He's a tremendous talent.
We're talking to Dan Orlovsky of the Mothership, NFL Live, starting today through Friday at 4 Eastern. Dan also calling the Super Bowl in New Zealand and Australia.
I thought it was me and Greg together. Olsen, no?
No. Sorry. Sorry about that. You're down on the list. Yeah, down on the list.
Yeah.
You have an Australian accent.
I've done that once. We usually for NFL Live.
Yeah, you probably don't want to do that during the broadcast.
Yeah, we for NFL Live we have to like tape a hit for Australia usually. And one time, like I was like, I'll do an Australian accent and say something. They were like, no, you won't. Yeah. So
what advice would you give Tom Brady going into broadcasting?
I think that one, your opinion is always wrong. And it should be. You know, like, we live in this world where, like, people get so caught up on opinion and analysis. Your opinion should be wrong. Like, when you have an opinion, as long as you justify your opinion, you want people to disagree with your opinion. That's part of this job. You should strive to have your analysis be accurate. And I think that's one of the things that I would tell Tom. You know, like, you're going to be wrong with stuff.
But what's the difference of your opinion and your analysis? Because your analysis should form your opinion.
I think analysis is a little bit more scientific. You know, like, when I watch tape, I can make the analysis on tape that the Philadelphia Eagles defense struggles at moments to handle motion and crossing routes. That's analysis, and I can prove to you that that analysis is accurate. I could have the opinion that, you know, Joe Montana doesn't make it into my top 5 quarterbacks.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Let's go.
That's an opinion.
I know, but you should have analysis to go along with something like that, because if it's a standalone opinion,
yeah,
I'm dying to know what the analysis is that would be attached to that.
I think there's 2 things. I mean, if we want to rehash the top 5 quarterback conversation.
This is going to follow you the rest of your career.
So I think that...
I mean, that's not an opinion. That's analysis.
He's not top 20 in yards or touchdowns. Okay. That has to matter somewhat. And then everyone goes to the Super Bowl record, respectfully, as they should.
Okay.
The defense gave up 15 points per game in those 4 Super Bowls.
Okay. Paulie, bring out Joe Montana.
I mean, you know, like, that has to be a part of the conversation. Also, that is my opinion, thinking, well, Marino was probably better. I could put Aikman into that conversation. I could put Drew Brees into that conversation. We can't just sit there and say, well, he's top 5 because he went to 4 Super Bowls. You can't do that. Like, that's okay. There's so much more attached to the game.
You have to win a game.
That's an opinion.
You have to win a Super Bowl.
Tom Brady.
Then?
Patrick.
Okay. And then?
Probably Elway.
Okay.
Peyton. Montana.
Okay, so you made your top 5 in winning the most important game.
No, he didn't. He made 6. Right? Oh, and then Marino. Yeah, Marino and I were in that conversation. This isn't a dump on Joe Montana thing for me.
But it appears to be.
But it's not. But that's why you can't be scared to have an opinion.
If you had him on NFL Live,
yeah,
would you say?
I'd ask him about Skechers.
Would you ask him about? Would you say, hey, I just want to let you know, I think you're maybe in the top 20 in quarterback?
Yeah, and he would probably look at me, laugh, and be like, cool.
Now, he might not matter. I mean, he might not care about it.
I would imagine Joe Montana does not care that I don't have him in the top 5. I mean, right? I think he's got bigger things going on.
He might say you're not even the 5th best quarterback in UConn history.
I'd ask him. I'd ask him for his opinion on who are the top 5 then.
Well, nobody can name 5 good quarterbacks at UConn.
Then I would win that argument. Then I would win that argument.
You're a guy who manipulated your 40-yard dash time. Like, I don't know if I can trust you when it comes to, you know.
That's many years ago, Dan. I'm not that same person.
Oh, you're not?
I'm a changed man.
I respected it.
I am a changed man.
I respected that, and you wonder what, you wouldn't be sitting here.
We were at a friend's house the other night. I would not be sitting here, no. I told that story again to a friend's house the other night. So my kids I have sons who are 11 years old. I have triplet sons who are 11, and then I have a daughter who's 7. And we live in Connecticut. And listen, I'm not like shoot your dreams down type person at all. I'm actually the complete opposite. But my kids play youth sports, right? And I was like at my daughter's basketball game 2 weeks ago, and I'm at my son's lacrosse games all the time and whatnot, and hearing parents talk about their kids. The NFL, the NBA, Major League, we're going to have to form new leagues. There's not going to be enough professional sport leagues for all the kids that are going to become professional sports players. And so I was trying to, like, you know, oftentimes people in town or parents in town will ask me, like, what should I do with my kid? You know, when do I need to start their private training? I'm like, dude, they're 9. They can barely wipe themselves, guys. So, like, we don't. And so I was telling that story the other night because everyone was like, out of all the kids, the friends groups, who do you think are the kids who can go play professional sports?
Oh,
and I'm
my
like,
God.
I was like, guys, this is how I made it. This is how I actually made the professional sports. So
Now, once again, scouts were coming, and then you
It
moved,
was Edsel, Randy Edsel. He wanted to come to watch a practice.
and you moved the cones on the 40-yard dash.
Yeah, because I knew if UConn, I had not had any offers then, and I knew that if UConn didn't offer me, no one was going to offer me. So, you know, we had 2 cones, start and finish, and I was running that like 5.8 maybe at that time. And I knew, like, if I did not get an offer from UConn, I wouldn't buy anybody. And he showed up, and my dad went to go see him, so I kicked the final cone up like 4 or 5 yards.
And what was your 40-yard dash time?
When I ran it in that moment, was 4.8.
Oh,
realistically, it was like. And then I went to camp that summer, and I ran like 5.6. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't an athlete or athletic.
Did Coach look at his watch and like, wait?
I'll never forget. He looked at me, arms up, like the emoji. He went arms up, and I responded back with my hamstring.
Oh,
yeah. I knew what I was doing. I was the kid who went to the mailbox and took the report card and scribbled or erased.
Yeah, changed the grade.
Yeah, I cheated my way through like adolescence.
The biggest off-season story is going to be what?
Great question. I'm not going to say Rodgers. What the Jets do at quarterback, I think, is probably the biggest offseason conversation. I think the Jets are a legit like divisional round playoff team. You can make the case AFC championship caliber defense, and if they're healthy up front, I think the Jets can play with anyone. I really do.
But who should go there?
That's the toughest part of this conversation, Dan, because they have to take a big swing. I mean, it's a win or go home type of thing for Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, the head coach and general manager. So you sit there and go, well, if it's not Rodgers, well, who's it going to be? Because they have 4 options. It's go ahead with Zach Wilson. I don't think that's the thing. Sign Aaron Rodgers. Go find a way to get Rodgers. But the only way you go get Rodgers is if, like, he commits to being around in March, April, and May. Yeah. They got a young team.
I know.
And you, like, not only his leadership, but just the energy. Like the energy has to be around the organization so those guys really get ready for the fall. It's draft another rookie. Again, I don't think that's going to happen. Or Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr. And I think that, listen, I'm a big Derek Carr guy, but you have to figure out before you try to trade and/or sign for him. It's not, do you think he could play good? It's, do you think he can handle the burden and the expectations of what next season is for the Jets in New York? That's a big deal. Like that not everyone can handle that.
I want to thank you for all the contributions during the season.
Always an honor.
ESPN PR department. Poor, PR department. Fritzy is so annoying.
I don't mean to be a pain in the neck.
But Fritzy thinks that the ESPN talent are supposed to be on our show, and that's part of the problem.
After all those years with ESPN, I thought,
you don't work there anymore.
I don't. Neither one of us do.
No, we don't.
No, but it's great.
We don't get paid to come on the show?
No, no.
I think there's some parting gifts or something. The Dan Patrick board game or something. What do we have?
I got a sandwich. I got the slider over there.
That
King's
slider
Hawaii.
looked incredible.
Oh, it's great. You should get it. I'll give you 2 if you want. You can take one back to Big Swagoo.
He eats enough. He don't need more food. He does the intermittent fasting, so he's not going to eat till like 2 or something today.
All right. By the way, if you're watching on Peacock, we're going to see if Dan will crank up that arm. You want to see if we...
You guys said Brady Quinn almost threw it to the infield?
Yeah. He was probably 40 feet short.
Guys, that's an absolute huck.
Well, your arm, I mean, you should have a lot of mileage still there.
I don't know, my shirt might be too
There's
tight
nothing
to
you
throw.
could do moving cones today, so you can't manipulate this. But, let's let America see that arm. We didn't get to see it enough in the NFL.
That wasn't good enough.
Brady Quinn took his shirt off, by the way, too.
Of course he did.
Yeah. Dan Orlovsky of the Mothership.
That's a before-after photo then.
You're like olive oil, and he's Popeye. Monday through Friday, you can see NFL Live, but this week, today through Friday, 4 Eastern, you can catch Dano with Laura Rutledge, Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears, Ryan Clark. We're back with our play of the day right after this.